about why file? Why you?
Well, I'm running as a Republican in the gubernatorial primary against Scott Walker. My goal is to help shed some light on the fact that Scott Walker is the fake Republican in the race. Wisconsin has a long and proud tradition of progressive Republicans. With Bob LaFollette, the party was actually founded in Wisconsin, in Ripon, Wisconsin, as a pro-labor abolitionist party, and I think it has strayed too far from its progressive roots. So I'm hoping to bring it back to the party that it used to be.
So of course people will see you out here, they'll see you protesting, they'll see you filing, and they'll say, well, you're just a fake Republican when you say that.
I am running with a very similar platform to the platform that Robert M. LaFollette ran on when he was running for governor as a Republican. I identify as a Republican, and I identify Scott Walker as the fake Republican. He doesn't embody any of the values of the party of Lincoln. He's an extremist and a radical.
What is the platform?
The platform, I'm running on a representation, an honest representation. One of my biggest issues with Scott Walker has been total refusal to listen to or acknowledge that some people in this, or many people in the state, totally disagree with what he's doing. He thinks he knows what's best, and he's going to execute it 100% without compromise. I think the people of the state of Wisconsin deserve a place at the table to participate in the decision-making process. Honest representation. I think Walker has zero regard for the will of the people.
You're now the only person facing him after the Mike Mangan didn't get enough signatures. So how do you get votes?
How do you get votes? I think honesty. I think people are tired of being lied to. It's either blatant lies or half-truths or omitting the facts. I think that being straightforward and honest with people will find it refreshing and appreciate where I'm coming from. Fake Democrats are fake Democrats. They are Republican Party operatives acting for the Republican Party. The GOP of Wisconsin has said they are fake Democrats running to benefit us. Their circulation, their petitions were circulated by the GOP for them. The GOP is financing their campaigns. They have no platforms. They are strictly placeholders trying to game the system to postpone the general election. I have never identified with either party previously. Currently, if you want to participate in the electoral process, you kind of have to choose one side or the other. And right now, the party that best represents my views is the party of Bob LaFollette, the Progressive Republican Party of Wisconsin.
We saw some exit polls last week that indicated that Walker had 80% support amongst Republicans. So do you have to go after crossover voters, Democrats?
Well, I'm definitely going to target Republican voters. I think the true Republican values that many Republican voters in the state hold very dear to themselves, Walker does not have those same values. I think he's done a very good job of lying to the people of Wisconsin to trick them into thinking he's a fiscal conservative, to trick them into thinking it's working. He repeats the same lies over and over and over enough that it really sinks in. Our projected budget deficit is greater now than it was when Act 10 was passed and proposed. We've had the worst job record in the country this past year under Governor Walker's watch. His policies are not working, and I think it is definitely possible to convince Republican voters that he's the wrong man for the job.
You mentioned that you will primarily go after Republicans, but Democrats can vote; they can cross over. Mm-hmm. So, do you try to reach out to them?
Well, I'm reaching out for anyone who my message resonates with. A large target that I'm trying to reach are people who don't normally vote. A lot of people feel discouraged by the political system that we participate in right now. And so I want to reach out to unlikely voters, people who feel disenfranchised by the system. And I'm encouraging if people have a candidate in the Democratic race that they support, please vote for them. Otherwise, vote for the person who best represents your interests. And if that's me, please vote for me.
So, for example, if as we saw last week during the Republican presidential primary, there was some quote-unquote mischief caused by Democratic voters voting for Santorum.
Yeah.
You don't expect to have any of that mischief then for you?
Well, if Democratic voters are voting for me in the Republican primary, it's because they think I best represent them. And I mean, in that case, I encourage it. If people have a candidate in the Democratic race that they support, I'm encouraging them to please vote for whoever best represents them.
Lance, anything?
Well, I don't know if it was when you guys were turning in your papers or if I'd read it somewhere, but it seemed to me I'd heard that this kind of came about as a way to keep Republican voters honest and not voting all for Falk or whatever.
Right.
So did it morph into, you kind of thought, well, hey, maybe I could win this thing? Did
Well,
it start as one thing and change into another?
My intentions never really changed. One of my major concerns leading up to my campaign was maintaining the integrity of the democratic process. There was a serious concern that and Fitzgerald confirmed this concern in the newspaper last week, saying that there's nothing stopping Republican Walker's supporters voting in the Democratic primary, trying to disingenuously influence the nomination. So luckily in Wisconsin we have an open primary, so you can vote for a Republican or a Democrat, whoever best represents you. But my fear was that people would vote in the Democratic primary to try to disingenuously influence the nomination selection, and that is a danger to the integrity of our election.
But if you're saying now you're running as a Republican and you're worried about other disingenuous voters, I mean, how do you expect people at home to not hear that and kind of roll their eyes? Oh, here's this guy who's leading the protest in the middle of the circle of the rotunda, and now he's talking about other voters being disingenuous. I mean, isn't that a little parsing words?
The protests were a bipartisan effort. Republicans, independents, Democrats all participated in the protests. I've never identified as a Democrat until I previously never identified as a Republican. Right now, the party that best represents my views is the Republican Party of Bob LaFollette and Abraham Lincoln, and I am running as that Republican. And if Republicans or Democrats want to vote for me, they'd be voting for me because they think that I best represent them in this race.
Anything else? Okay, cool. Sounds good. I appreciate it.